This is the Cliff Yates Show. Personal growth, motivation, inspiration, and philosophies for a great life.
Yeah, this is the Cliff Yates Show. You're in the right place. And another great guest on today. She is, my God, she's got a Ph.D. in design and taught it. We're going to find out about that. 2 books, Make Art and that sells. And she's got another book called Design, Profit, Prosper. I can't wait to hear about it. She's CEO of Design Suite. And just when she's got her own great podcast also, just when I think maybe I'm a high achiever, just talking to her off camera, I think I got a little ways to go and I might have to step up my game a little bit. Let's bring her right on. Carina Gardner. Thanks for joining us, Carina.
I'm so excited to be here, Cliff. Thanks for having me.
And so you have a PhD in design.
I know, it's crazy. There's a few of us. There's a handful of us. It's so funny because I never thought I'd get a PhD, first of all, and then definitely not in design. My undergraduate degree is in communications, and I thought I was always going to go into advertising. And I went to do a master's degree in design just because I wanted to be in control of what the advertising was doing. Turns out design's way more fun than advertising, and so I ended up getting a master's and a PhD.
Now, when you go for design to get a degree, do you have to niche down to like clothing or what kind of?
Yes. In fact, so I graduated from the University of Minnesota. They're trying to build deans basically for the graphic design field. So mine is specifically it's called design communications, which is basically graphic design. But I taught interior designers, clothing designers, housing, and architect. Those are all together. So in our foundational classes, we're all together. And those are the kids I would teach. But then once you kind of break out sophomore and junior year, it's all very specific to the kind of design you are doing.
Wow. And did you always have a penchant for design when you're growing up as a little girl, or?
I don't think so. I mean, I loved art. My mom's actually a phenomenal artist, and my dad is actually very creative as well. But, I didn't feel, and I was definitely in the art club and that kind of thing, but there's a reason I didn't get an art degree for my bachelor's degree. I really didn't feel like that was a great place for me. I don't feel like I'm innately artistic, which, sometimes people are like, I'm amazing drawers, and I'm not. The thing I figured out during my master's degree is that good design is learned. And once I figured that out, I was like, oh, I can teach anybody design.
Wow. Oh, good. Because I'm going to have a conversation with my wife about this. She has a natural a talent for design. So we had last year we had an Airbnb that she was down here by herself. And so she had to furnish it. And so she went to 2 different thrift stores, picked this, and that, guy with the truck, take it over. And then she sent me pictures, and she just knows this lamp goes over here. And so she has an innate, I think she should have a business either in staging but she does it on clothing design too. She goes, no, this will fit on you. She's dressed a lot of people. I know that could be her business, either being a dresser or even like real estate staging, she would be awesome in.
And there are so many jobs in that, right? It's so crazy because 2 of my girlfriends, one of them has a staging business and a different one has a styling business. So, and then I have a graphic design business. And the crazy thing is both of them neither of them have degrees in those fields. They do not. And so the thing is, it's really about having a great eye. But one of the things we have to teach people is vocabulary, because the goal is, even if you have a great eye, what you're trying to do is teach people how to persuasively tell them why you did what you did, because they need to be on board. Like if you make a logo, you have to be like, the reason I did this is because this is going to help your business in this way, and it'll look really great here, and it will work great here. So it's really about vocabulary, and that's what people are missing.
That makes sense. So you can explain to people the reason this works is not only is it your brand reflects your brand, I'm going to across these different platforms, it's going to play well, right? Probably visually and otherwise, right?
Yeah. And you need to use design vocabulary for that. So, I think convincing people it's because it's like the golden mean is sitting here and there's a mathematical reason. There's actually a ton of things in design that's objective, not subjective. In art, there's a lot of subjectivity.
Yeah.
But But even then, there are certain things that you will see that's happening that you're like, oh, mathematically, this looks better because of this. And my eye starts on the left-hand side because we're in a Western society, right? And it's
Oh,
dynamically moving this way. And so then the focal point needs to be right over here so that we see it better. So you're a visual communicator, and the better you are at explaining that, the more people will believe you and do what you're saying. Hey, this is going to look the best.
so when you when you go into a room and then you're going to design that, you are designing for a person's going to start from left to right. Is that what you're saying? Or
Well, that's for I'm in graphic design, so that's
oh,
I'm
in
thinking
graph,
about
oh, like
images.
on text
But
and yeah,
but in interiors is different, right? It's more about spacing, right? Your
yes,
negative space in a room. So like, how are people walking through the space? How are they using it correctly? You know, that chandelier, you don't, if you have it over a table, there's a reason for it, because you don't want anyone to hit their head on it, right? Because it's
right,
down a certain number of
yeah.
inches. And so once you're able to explain all of those things in a really logical, common sense way, but like you understand it and know it, it just makes it really easy to persuade people that this is the correct way to do things.
Wow. Okay. So like in a room, it would be if there's too much of a void in an area, it's going to stand out visually. It won't seem right, right? It seems like you wouldn't. If you're the designer, you know if something's off, right, and what to do with that space.
Well, focal point in a room, right? It's the
Yeah.
same as graphic design, which is flat. Focal point of a graphic design, focal point on clothing, right? Like maybe you don't want a focal point. Maybe you need it all to feel very much the same. So depending on what the object is, and everybody should have an objective when they are designing something. Whatever that objective is, that's what you're playing to.
Ah. Okay. Very. Okay. Good. I like that because sometimes I do get it. In other words, sometimes I'll know. Okay, this is not right. But my wife has it naturally. She knows, like on end tables and everything, down to the length of the bedspread or whatever. But and your friends who have the staging businesses, do they have their own furniture like in a warehouse they keep, and then that's how they do it? So you kind of gather pieces, and then it goes from place to place. I'm just wondering how you would do that business if you know.
Yeah. I mean, so she has a lot in her garage, but then I think she does have a warehouse where she's like keeps everything. And so when they do a house, they know what, how the empty spaces are looking. Sometimes they're even filling it with like beds and chairs, and it's like everything. So
Yeah.
they're having to move all of those things into that space. It'll be contracted for a certain amount of time.
Yep.
And then, she might have 2 or 3 houses being done at
Yeah.
the same time. So then she's like pulling all of that stuff back.
Yeah.
So.
God, I think that would be a good business for my wife. She would be great at that. But then, God, then we got to haul stuff, and I might get roped into doing that.
Oh, you will be her husband does all the like
I was going to say,
gathering, U-hauling. Yeah, it is definitely not a one-person job.
yeah, man, we better not do that, I don't think, because when she was doing the
don't even mention
Airbnb,
your wife.
no, she had me with a truck. Come on down here. I got a dresser. And I go, what? Another one? And I'm like, yeah, so. And she's really good at art, so she could draw too. She doesn't do it, but she could sit there and draw a face. And she took an art appreciation class. It's funny. So the people in design kind of are drawn to art, right?
Yeah, and I would say we actually, in my program, so I'm the CEO of a program called Design Suite. We're like an online professional development program, basically. So for anybody who wants to start a business in design. So we actually get a lot of fine artists, because most of the time, great fine artists have no idea how to sell their art, because the only way they've been taught is to go showcase it in a gallery or make some art prints and put them online. And those are terrible ways to sell art. So basically, designers are just people who make art, but know how to take those and put them in mediums where people can actually buy them in ways that are usable, functional, like the art that ends up on a dish towel, or the art that ends up on a vase, or the art that ends up, in any different stickers. And those pieces of art are now usable for the regular consumer.
Okay, because for a minute there, I thought you might be going, well, they need to be selling like in a physical location, but that wouldn't be scalable. But to be used on items or to sell that design, that would be scalable and profitable. Does that go into your book, Make Art That Sells? Let's talk about that.
Yeah. So this book, Make Art That Sells, this is my book for this year. And the whole thing with this is I decided we wanted to do something fun. It's actually the
Yeah.
second book I wrote. But so every chapter is a little bit of art history. So I find one artist that we talk about, and then I give you one piece of a formula. So by the end, you have this full formula of what you need to do to create art that actually sells. So what I find is we have a lot of fine artists who are doing, I mean, is clearly very talented,
Yeah.
definitely far more talented than I am, but they just don't know how to sell their work. They just don't
Yeah.
know how to do it. And so instead, we talk about William Morris in the 1890s. He was all about usability and functionality. So it's like, okay, if we can take this piece of art and we can find ways that humans actually can use it, because there's only so much wall space we all have.
I know. That's
We
right.
don't
Yeah.
we can't put a gazillion pieces of art on our walls and on top of it's being cluttered, right? So at the end of the day, where can we find art and actually use it? Well, I'm specifically in the crafting industry and the quilting industry. So we can put it on print on demand fabrics. We can put it on sticker sheets. We can put it in die cutting files. These are all scrapbooking papers. So these are all ways that your art could end up on a piece that people will spend 99 cents on, and you can sell 100,000 of that item,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And my specialty is, furthermore, even though I've been in physical products, is teaching people how to make them digitally so that you don't have to create even any inventory. And
Right.
that's where most of my people are making all of their money, because the margins are 95% versus only 15% in physical products.
I'm just getting ready to start. I was, because I thought I'm always, I don't know why I love learning these things, right? When I found that I got 4 books when I thought, wow, I mean, there used to be, I always talk about, there used to be gatekeepers and you just couldn't do it, and now you can publish your book to the world, audio, visual, paperback, ebook, and you have total control. There's no more excuses. There's no more gatekeepers. It's about getting it done. And so the opportunities are just, they're just amazing to me. I get excited about it. And matter of fact, I just was learning about, creating some, T-shirts and Shopify and all these things where I never even have to touch it. I don't have to have it made in my garage. No, it's print on demand. When somebody makes an order, that company's going to send it to them. And why wouldn't you have a business like that? I mean, you don't have to be renting of space anymore. Your overhead is zero, basically, unless you want to invest back into it, which I would suggest. But isn't that exciting? I mean, that's what I get excited about.
Yeah, that's the really good stuff about being a designer. So now what we see is people can sell whatever they want. They can sell t-shirts, they can sell notebooks, if they want to sell physical products, but most of the time they don't have the design skills necessary to know what sells. So it's like, that's why we teach what we do, because we teach them the business piece, but we've got to teach them the design piece as well, to make sure they understand the software technology. And of course, most of them have a great eye. Like sounds like your wife has a great eye, but it's like being able to flip that switch and being like, now can you explain to me why you did that thing, and making sure that it's really working throughout their design work.
Yeah, I think I want to do a women's design line for the beach wear somewhere, and then I'm going to have her model it because she's awesome, and then she can help with the design because she'll have the eye. She doesn't like doing the computer stuff and having a store and all that stuff, but I'll do that, and then I'll take pictures of her with the product, and I'll take care of the tags and all the platforms. So that's exciting to be able to do. That's great. I never thought, I always, I thought about the books and everything else and how these opportunities, but now you say, now that's open. That's the same opportunities are in the design world. That's awesome.
Exactly. It's everywhere. Like, there used to be only designers could be, especially if you had a degree, you could get a job in-house, or you could maybe be like a book illustration designer or a website designer. There are like kind of these like places you can go. Now you can be almost any other kind of designer. Let me just give you an example. A few years back, Teachers Pay Teachers became one of the biggest sites for designers to sell on. Why? Because teachers are willing to buy packets on specific projects for their kids, and they don't have to buy it once and then print it out so they can use it for whatever they're using it for. My daughter, one of my kids, is in high school, and she showed me a packet they were working on for Romeo and Juliet. And I looked at it and I was like, there is no way the teacher did this. They paid for it on Teachers Pay Teachers. It was beautiful. And it had all these great questions about, every chapter of Romeo and Juliet, but it was also beautifully laid out. It had really nice graphics on it. And And it was like kind of fun to work in, like as a workbook. And that's the kind of stuff, it's not just good for designers, it's good for all the different other careers out there, because now there's accessibility to things that we simply just didn't have access to before.
Yeah, and how do you feel about some of these softwares that, I mean, I use Canva and stuff. Are you negative on that or not?
I'm not negative about it, but as a designer, we want to be first level designers. So we want to be the designers who design for Canva, right? So like as someone who uses Canva, it's
sense.
really great to be a business owner who uses Canva. That makes a lot of sense to me because you're not in the skill set of design. But if you're a designer, you should be the one who designs the stuff that Canva is using.
So you could actually maybe design a template and you could sell that to Canva.
And there
actually
are plenty of designers who do. Canva has a string of designers who are doing that for them. So like, because I'm kind of first level, you are working like so like I'm a designer who designs clip art, right? You can go buy my clip art. I want business owners to use that clip art in their businesses however they want, right? Now, I could be the designer who takes the clip art and turns it into something else, but that's kind of second level design. So we don't do as much of that. We do have clip art designers who use the clip art. But, if you're a business owner, your job isn't to become a designer. Your job is to sell whatever it is. So you're going to use Canva to use that. You're going to use any other technology out there that's going to help you along the way.
Yeah, I'm finding that I don't sometimes some of these, I don't know all the capabilities of some of the stuff that I already have. So I have Canva, and then I have the Adobe Suite, which is not cheap, but I get everything in there, right? I think it's like $50 a month, $52, whatever.
And our designers, that's the main thing they have to purchase. That is Adobe Suite is 100% what they have to purchase. And you don't know what you have in there because
I don't.
It is good stuff.
So then I just happened to see some kind of little training online, and I said, well, I'm going to take this. And so it was all about Adobe Express. And I thought, well, this is Canva except more. I don't even need Canva anymore. I could do everything in the suite I already have. So why would I be paying for that pro version of Canva? Adobe Express will do it all, right?
Oh my gosh. It's so funny because we do quarterly conferences in our Design Suite program. And two of my coaches were like, Carina, we have got to do more training on Adobe Express. Because it's just so good. So they're actually doing this long set of trainings on it because it's brilliant. The suite itself, so we teach mostly Illustrator, Photoshop, a little bit of InDesign. But here's the thing about the suite. It has Premiere Pro, whatever, like the video.
I edit on that. That's what I'm going to edit this on. Yeah.
Do you use Audition? Because I use Audition to make my audio files for my podcast.
I haven't used Audition for that.
Yeah.
But I did adjust. So when I export from Premiere Pro, I was able to, make the LUFs, the loudness variations. And so when it's exported, I think at a pretty level that's accepted by YouTube and also the other podcast platforms. I don't know if I would have to go in and retool that any more than I already do.
I don't think you do. I think you're probably fine. The other one that is a big one right now is Adobe Firefly, which you have access to.
Yes. I've just been playing with all of that.
Software.
Oh my God, the AI, the backgrounds you can create, it's phenomenal to me. Oh, I can hang a picture behind it just looks so great.
And I have a lot of designers who are freaked out by Firefly. To me, and the other one out there is Midjourney. To me, is nothing to be freaked out about. It's just going to be another tool in a designer's belt. Because here's the problem: I go into Firefly and I'll be like, "Oh, I'm trying to get this mock-up." It won't do it the way I want. So it's like I still end up going in and manipulating it and doing production work as a designer. There's still a lot you really have to do to get it to where you want to go. So AI, we use AI as a tool in the design space now. And the ones who are not using it, they're just getting left behind. That's what we're kind of seeing.
People just need to accept it as a reality and use it for all the good that it can do. And don't rely it to be for me, I could just, if I just say, create a YouTube description about my talk with Carina Gardner on graphic design and also design for whatever, it's going to spit out a paragraph that I could never write on my own, right? And then my description is done.
Yeah.
For the amount. Yeah. It's funny about this. I was thinking about my old. When we lived in LA, I did some acting and I did my stand up there. But anyways, I had a photographer who would do my headshots. And I just remember when he was just so hesitant about switching from film to digital, because, oh my God, because I can do so much with film and this, I'm going to be. And then a year later, I went back to him. He goes, oh man, he goes, I shoot in RAW now. I can do so much more in digital than I could ever do with film. And he's so much more happier. But initially he thought he was going to be limited. And then he found out that he was going to have so much more latitude for creativity. Isn't that great?
Isn't that, but don't you think that's there's a little bit of resistance every time there's a little bit of a new technology. And the reason, but every time there are people who do lose jobs, right? There is no doubt about that. The AI is going to replace a few people at the bottom. If I were a small business owner right now, I would use AI to create my logo versus hiring a designer to do it, because I don't have any money as a new or as a new business owner, right? But as you kind of move along, what you'll see is the designers who all stay are the ones who are still building all the branding and doing production, taking the logo and changing it so it can be used in creative ways. And so what we find is higher level design work, higher level anything that AI can't produce, that can't use those critical thinking skills to get humans what they want, right?
Yeah.
Those people still remain. So AI is actually, it's ironic because I remember the resistance on Adobe when Adobe came out. Designers before were screen printers and lithographers and hand drawers, and now they're graphic designers. And so there was a changeover, and it does leave a few people behind, but it only leaves those behind who want to be left behind because they're just unwilling to embrace what's coming next.
Yeah, you have to be reinventing yourself based on what's happening. I always think back to I think I read in one of the success books too, is if you look at these guys who, they were very successful. They made a lot of money in their 1 hour photo business. And then if they didn't keep reinventing themselves, they're all gone now. But, it's like Blockbuster holding on to that niche and not changing with the times, and Netflix wiping them out. Because I used to like going in Blockbuster, and I used to like that. That experience.
I did too. I actually loved going in with Blockbuster too. But it is so convenient when I'm looking for a very random movie that I haven't watched in a long time to be able to go online and say, who's got this movie? Who's streaming this movie right now? And I can literally find someone who's streaming that movie. There's a certain amount of convenience in our life now that I've actually been a little worried, with my kids, like they're not going to know this. Like everything is so instantaneous for them. If we're looking for something, we can immediately find it.
Yeah. They got no concept of how we used to be where we had no access to it. There was no way to know some of these things, and now they have it at their fingertips. It's pretty amazing how you can get an answer to something. Yeah. Oh my God. I forgot where I was going with what you were saying, but, yeah.
we went off on AI. We couldn't help ourselves. It's such a hot topic right now.
Oh, it's the movie thing, because we have a summer place in the Thousand Islands. You probably know where that is, the St. Lawrence River.
I don't know where that is. Where are you located? You're in Florida, right?
We're in Florida, but we have a summer place, and there's the Lake Ontario from the Great Lakes dumps into. Oh, you're in Utah now, huh?
I'm in Utah now, but I was in Minnesota for 6 years.
Yeah, so you're on those lakes, the lakes of Minnesota. And so the Great Lakes, and so the Lake Ontario dumps into the St. Lawrence River, which kind of runs north past Montreal into the Atlantic Ocean. But there's a 20-mile stretch where there's 1,800 plus islands, big, tiny, small. And so we have one that was left handed down. As a matter of fact, the great artist, Frederick Remington, you know him?
I don't know him.
Remington did he did paintings, but he also did bronze Western theme stuff. You see it a lot in the White House. They're in hotels. It's the Bronco Billy bronze things.
Yeah, that's come into mind. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
So you'll see it like in the president. It might be behind him somewhere. But Frederick Remington, he used to have a place on an island near us, and he would actually paint from there. But I was going to what you were talking about, learning these things. So we shot a movie on our island. It's called Devil's Island 2021. It's on Amazon for free. Story's not great, but check it out. You'll see our island, and we filmed it right on the island. But the guys who filmed it, this guy did an HBO movie years ago, and I did some independent shows for him as an actor. But and his quality is so amazing. I was like, how do you do this? You do the same quality as any studio would do. And so, I shoot raw and I do this and that. And so I really didn't know what he was talking about until I started playing like with Lightroom through Adobe. And then I saw how, man, if you shoot raw, basically means it captures everything is captured. Nothing's like, to make the files smaller, it's not edged out. And then you can really edit it, right? And so he kind of taught me that. And I love going into Lightroom and playing with photos.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, Lightroom's another one that people love to play in. And I actually love Lightroom, the app. So the app that Adobe puts out is really fantastic as well. So they have apps for a lot of the different software that are really great for anyone to use. Not only is there an app for Lightroom, but on the iPad, the thing that we teach our designers is Illustrator on the iPad. It is fantastic. People who tend to like drawing more naturally, it's an easier way to draw. I use something called, this is old school, which is ironic because it's only 20 years old, but this is a Wacom tablet. And you have to learn we didn't back in the day, you have to learn how to draw with a special pen, and you're drawing here, but your eyes are looking ahead of you. So that kind of messes people up.
That's weird. Yeah. So your hand's over here and you're looking there. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But that's how
I draw.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You'd have to get used to that, but you could. It's good for your brain to be learning that new skill for sure.
It's a little bit crazy.
Yeah. How many books do you have? The Make Art That Sells
and Design Profit Prosper. Yeah. That's my second book. This book right here. And this is actually my premiere book. This is the one that kind of tells people like really how to get started in design and owning a design business. Wow. I like to give models. I find that I tell stories and I give models because I find that people they're like, yes, I want to start a design business. And even if I gave them a task list, they kind of don't do it, and the task list kind of changes. And so instead we tell them like, here is a model. And if you can go through this loop of a model 10 times in a week, we know you can be profitable, right? Yeah. So it's just like understanding really like how a framework works. And so like if you're doing all the pieces in it, then you should be able to create a business that works for you, that is profitable and doing what you need to do. And recently I was on someone else's podcast and they made me go through the model, and we did it for all creatives. And it was very fascinating because it completely works for all creatives, not just designers. You just kind of have to like think about it in different ways. It's very fascinating. Yeah.
And so do you do teaching and or coaching online? Or?
Yeah. So it's our program. And so ironically, I can't tell you, we're in the middle of something that's happening that's going to take us 3 years to do in this next little bit.
Exciting.
It's exciting and so cool. And I think we're going to tell everyone in about a month or so. Okay. We can finally tell people, but we're under silence for the moment, not because we're trying to be secret, but because of all the information that's going into building this. But right now the program we have is a 1-year program that basically smushes 4 years of a design program plus an MBA into a single year. So it's slightly intense. It's this crazy career. We have weekly meetings. They have 17 courses that are most of them are built out to semester long courses. And so like it takes about 3 years to get through all the coursework, but they're only with us for 6 months or a year, depending on what they chose to do. But we think of it as a master's degree program because it's like seriously, truly building a business in a single year.
Wow. Oh, thank you for using smushes. That's a great word. Not everybody uses it. When you're in comedy, words mean so much, right? That's a great word to use. Smushes. That'll get a lot of laughs. No. I ask you that for selfish reasons because I'm getting ready I told you off camera, this coaching program, this health coaching. So do you use any like coaching softwares or you just do your own thing?
So we use Zoom. We just do meetings in Zoom. We tech-wise, we're currently in Kajabi. So we use Kajabi for holding all of our community stuff. We use it for all of our coursework and calendars, so everybody's on page. But yeah, so those are really the two. Our company itself, our project management software we use is Monday.com. And it makes it so that we have about 18 people on our team. And Everyone works virtually. Half of the people are in other countries, in Spain, the Philippines, like all over the place. My whole team, even my leadership team, is all over the United States. So we had our leadership
That's
meeting this
great.
morning, and we will come together like as a team, like the ones in America will come together and even actually one person from the Philippines will bring over, because she's on our leadership team. We'll have a meeting in Utah with me, and then leadership in general. We're trying to start some new things where we're meeting like at least a couple times a year. I'll fly them in, and we'll have our annual meeting and our quarterlies that way. So there's still like some touch points, but for the most part, we are a team of, I think there's one, I guess like Steve's kind of in and out. We have a couple of guys on the team, but it's females. And a lot of us have children. Many of us have grandchildren. We have 21-year-olds. We have 60-year-olds on our team. Like
Wow.
we're very, if you have the right experience for our team, we want you on our team. And more important to us is actually, we were talking about this morning, organizational behavior. You have to be a doer to be on my
Yes.
team. Like you have to be like, so-and-so couldn't get to this. I'm going to rush in and go take care of this thing. And team player is what I think Sarah called it. She was like, everyone has to be a team player because when you work virtually, there has to be a certain amount of trust amongst everyone, that everyone's going to do their part. I do not track people's time. Like we have like a payment, thing where they can like put in their, but I rarely look at it because I trust everybody on the team to do what they need to do. And truthfully, like I would say half of the people have children. And so we want it to be, I mean, it's the kind of company I wish I could have built even 20 years ago when my children were really little, because it is hard to be a young mom and have all of this stuff going on and have a job and have a career or to make some money.
Yeah.
And so we really provide, as much as possible, a flexible environment so that everybody can work the way they need to work.
Are you having any trouble finding high achievers that are driven? No, that's good to hear.
No.
It's funny because go ahead.
I think this world we live in is different because I started this particular company 3 years ago in the middle of COVID. And what I am seeing is that people don't want to be held down anymore. They want the flexibility. They want to have meaningful careers. And we are doing, I find that what we do, we were talking about this morning, it's all about impact. How many people can we change their lives, help them learn how to design, help them to make money? And so that's far more important to us than just making a lot of money.
Right. Yeah.
And so because of that, and good lifestyle for those that are on the team, we want everyone to have a great lifestyle. And so what I find is people want to be on a team where they're supported in that way. And things may be crazy. We have some chaotic times, but I think the good and the right people stay on my team. The people who are not meant to stay, they leave for one reason or another. We either let them go,
or they self-attrition.
They move themselves out.
Yeah.
And, that's too bad. But also I've come to accept it because I think the right people stay.
Yeah. Well, that's good to hear. I think you have a good servant leadership group around you. My wife's born in Cuba, and her work ethic. She was a full-time deputy sheriff in LA County. She raised 3 boys, kind of by herself. And then, so sometimes she has a few relatives and they're like overwhelmed, and she's like, what? They don't even do half what she's done, but she seems like.
Yeah, I think good work ethic is a huge thing. And I think that I still think people have it. I really do. I look at my leadership team. I look at especially my international team. They are brilliant, brilliant workers.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things about having a virtual company is like, instead of only people in Salt Lake where I'm at, I can only use people in Salt Lake. Suddenly I have access to everyone in the world. Guess what? You can find great people in the world.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Wow. I love that. That's great. You reminded me of something when you said, because you trust your people and you just because you picked the right people. But it's funny that when I was on the sheriff's department as a sergeant, we had something happen, And I ended up getting disciplined because of something somebody had done. And so I just remember their line, well, Cliff, the problem is you trusted these people. Yeah, I know I did. They took an oath, and I thought they were going to be doing their jobs, and I guess that was my problem.
That is the hard part. I'm not saying I haven't done that. Like, I trust people to a fault. And the thing is, then I also have the responsibility to let them go if it's toxic for the team.
Yeah.
Right?
You got to protect the rest of the team. Yeah, you do. Yeah.
I'm not saying I haven't made mistakes. I am making mistakes on the daily, probably, with people I have to fire or people I have to hire. Right?
Yeah.
So I'm making mistakes all the time. It has been a hard process, but I will say I sit really happy with the choices we have made. And I'm to the point where I don't make those choices by myself anymore. I look at my team. There were 6 people in the meeting this morning on my team. And I said, this is what's going on. I would love to hear from every one of you to see if this is a good fit still. So it's not even on me. It's like the team decides what's working. Yeah.
Oh, of course. Did you have a degree in communication, or you were just focused on that when you were going to school?
No, I have a degree. My bachelor's degree is in communications marketing.
Oh, okay. Very good. Oh, no wonder. Come on now. It's not fair. You remind me, I had a super sergeant. This guy was so great. And he was into team building. He was good. He just knew, you wouldn't even know that he was doing it, but, he would arrange these river rafting trips, and he just knew, and we just had, or maybe everything is screwed up, but, our team doesn't have to be. And he just had a great team. I remember there was a deputy working for us at the Universal City Walk, and we had a pretty tight team, but this guy was not making it, and the rest of the team was, you got to get rid of this guy. He goes, this guy's, there's somewhere that he should be, and so this guy was into photography, taking pictures. That was his hobby. And so he got that guy to technical services where he would go to crime scene and take pictures. That was his thing. But this sergeant was so, no, this guy, there's a spot for him, So, or people just wanted to throw that guy out, no, he was, I'm going to find a spot for him. And it worked out. But that is so important to have that mindset, right?
Yeah, that's magic if you can move people into a place where they're using their strength and not their weakness. I will tell you, I find it so difficult, though. So I am by far not a perfect example of this, because I would rather let someone go and let them go find the thing that their strength is going to be.
You don't have time for that.
If it's not on my team.
Right.
Now, that being said, I would like to give this example. So my marketing lead is a brilliant relationship builder. I mean, so brilliant. Yeah. She knows how to build great relationships so that she can get the right people in the loop. She's in charge of all of our summits. We do 4 a year. She does an excellent job of it. I tried to also get her to do our advertising stuff, and it just was not a good fit. She doesn't love the tech stuff. It's a little bit of a stretch for her, but she's brilliant at connecting. And so it took me 3 or 4 months to figure this out once I had hired, and I was I thought I was hiring her for this thing, but actually we hired her for this thing.
Yeah.
And so, sometimes as a leader, you might get frustrated because you're like, oh, I wanted this thing to work out, and it doesn't work the way you thought. It works out the way it needs to. But it also, you have to realign consistently as a CEO to make sure that you're doing the right things.
Yeah. Building relationships and communication is so important. That was one of the keys that I learned with turn my career around in the LA Sheriff's Department. I remember I would go and I would stop in to see the captain if his door was open, or her door at the time was open, peek in. Hi, Captain. How you doing? Just stop to say hi, get out of it. Then I would leave, right? Because no one goes to the captain unless they want something, right? People would get mad. Oh, those people are kiss asses and they play golf to get their positions, I go, you have to reframe this. You're developing rapport with people who can do things for you. That's what you're doing. And so golf has nothing to do with it. Yeah.
That's about trust,
Yeah.
I think people do see the golf outings or whatever else, but depending on how it's done, sticking your head in, just saying hello, it's just hey, I'm here. I'm available if you need me. Right?
Yeah. And also, in the Sheriff's Department has 10,000 people, right? So and when people are moving around, so when a captain has a list of 10 people of names, that's what he has, a piece of paper. But if he knows that person, you want to help your friends. Oh, I know Tom, he's a great guy. Like you said, I trust him. And so that guy gets promoted, but people kind of tend to look at it. So I remember talking to that story. So later on, I was back up at our substation talking to a detective he had 2 master's degree. The guy was a phenomenal detective, and he was complaining about a job he didn't get, and I was telling him about my conversation with the captain, and he says, I've been here 4 years. I never talked to the captain once. I go, there you go. It's not about, you may be more qualified, but people have to like you and know you, right? So know, like, and trust. How important is that, right?
Yeah. Not just for social media, right?
No, just for community, right? Family, friends. Is something you can apply. John Maxwell always talks about, they wanted him to write a business leadership book. And he said, I won't do it because there's no such thing. There's only leadership. It's the same at home as it is at work. It doesn't matter. There's no difference. So it all applies. One thing affects everything else.
Yeah, it's totally true. John Maxwell does have an awful lot of things right.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, and you do too. So you got the 2 books, and they can get those on Amazon.
Yep, just go to Amazon. You can put in Carina Gardner and find it. And actually, if you have an art enthusiast at your house, there's actually a master class with the Make Art That Sells class. I'm going to give it to you guys for free. So if you go to makeartbook.com, and there is a link there for the book. You don't have to get it, but it'll take you to Amazon. There's another link there for the master class, and the master class is totally free if you put in this code just put in Make Art, one word. And so click on that, put in Make Art, and it's about 6 lessons. It's super fun. I'm showing you art, and we're talking about the formula and how you can use it. If you're any kind of creative, like for example, if I know, Cliff, you write books, right?
Yes.
So the formula in there has it set up so you put a product in. So like your product would be book. And so then you would be putting in all these other things around it to see if you could get it to sell. So it's like trying to use it in a way that makes sense for understanding why something is going to sell.
So it's really knowing, is this marketable? Is there going to be ROI, return on investment, if I go down this road? And it kind of gives you a pretty accurate view of that, right?
Well, what it'll do is give you the ability to understand whether you've put in the right amount of time and volume to make it work. So what we see very often, at least in design, it could be wrong in other fields, but in design, our product could be like stickers, or it could be a die cut file, or it could be fabric, right? So those would be like the actual thing. What we see is that people don't try something long enough to see if it will work. So we have volume, we have time. So there are all these different things you put in. So you're going to say, I'm going to test this for 6 months. So you test it for 6 months, then you figure out when your pivot's going to be. And so then you can know if you need to make adjustments. What I see is people do something for a week, 2 weeks, 3 months, 6 months. They're not doing things for a year. No one's having the long game theory anymore. It's kind of crazy. I didn't really start making good money in my business until 3 years in. And that is very typical in business. And people don't last long enough to see if something's actually going to work.
Yeah, they bail too quick. There's an old story, right? They stop digging 3 feet before the gold, right? They just
that's a Napoleon Hill.
Yeah, I got all his books. I read them like 4 or 5 times just because they're gold. Yeah, and they apply it. It works for me. So I like to share those ideas with other people. So man, you're great. Okay, I want to coach me a little bit on this, because I want to continue doing what I'm doing, but a lot of times I'm posting about health and wealth and what I'm doing. And so I'm going to have this coaching certification. So I don't know if I want to be 100%, but I want a framework to be able to, if someone wants some coaching, but Kajabi, I loved. We're talking, it's probably $89, $90 a month or whatever. Is there maybe I do a lot through Calendly. This is how I would coach. Maybe I would just have a spreadsheet on initially, and then if I get enough clients, then maybe I switch to a Kajabi. How would you coach me on that?
Yeah. Okay, so if you're starting with zero money, like you have no money at all to start a coaching business, the problem is business is investment, right?
Yeah.
So you have to figure out what you're going to put in. So for designers, we have to pay for Adobe Suite, right? Like if you don't have Adobe Suite and you don't have a computer, you can't design, period. Okay. So for coaching, you need to have a platform where people can re-watch everything that you've got.
Yeah.
That's the problem. And that's why you really do need a Kajabi. If you don't need Kajabi, you could use, I think Teachable is another one that people use. School is another one that people use, but I think Teachable is probably the least expensive per month that I've seen. The other thing you can do, and I used to do this, and it wasn't because I didn't have a coaching, I just taught classes, so I just give them, is I would keep my videos on a private space on Vimeo. That's $300 for the year versus I think Kajabi's what, $1,500 for the year or something.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit cheaper. You pay it all at once, and then you put password protections on Vimeo.
Okay.
And so that was another thing, because you can do coaching, but lots of times people want the video afterwards. So it's more about like video management. And that's what Kajabi does for us. The other problem is if you start a certification program, you're doing all this coaching, what you're going to find, and I'm 3 years into my program, is we answer the same questions over and over and over again.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So you basically need a catch-all so that you're not answering the same questions over and over again. Instead, you're building a framework so that everybody can go through the same things all they want. So for example, I'll just show you this. This is our design suite manual. So when you join our mastermind program, you get one of these. And what it has in there is not only does it has worksheets and calendars for how to do everything. This is our award. We send out
I love
awards.
it. Yeah. Oh, that's great.
So we send out, it's like Girl Scouts. Like they get badges. Like it's really fun.
That's fun.
Anyways,
that's great.
That's our ABC. Instead of getting grades, you get badges. It's really fun.
Oh, that's awesome.
So we have roadmaps for everything. So it's you have to build a roadmap using the coursework. So if you want to be a sticker designer, then here's the courses you take in the order you take them. These are the most important meetings to you to go to. And so it's like a catch-all. You really do have to have a place where it's a catch-all, because even if you're teaching wellness, if you have someone who just came in today, maybe they're working on wellness. If you have someone who's in your program 6 months from now, they're not working on wellness. They already worked on wellness. So they need to be working on something else in your program, right? And so that's why you kind of need a catch-all for your program so that people can be where they need to be whenever they're going to be, unless you're going to do a program that starts, for example, in January and ends in December. So unless you're going to keep everybody on the same program, which is really only good in a university setting, most people know when they're ready to go, right?
Yeah.
So like we open up orientation. We have like orientations twice a month. I think we'll have one in May, but we open up orientation so that people can be like, you know what, I would like to come and be part of the April orientation and go ahead and get started. They don't want to wait until September to get going.
No. Is your main website carinagardner.com or?
Yeah, that's the catch-all, because my design business is there.
Yeah.
DesignSuiteCourses.com is where we keep Design Suite for the most part. But if you go to carinagardner.com and you click on courses, it will take you to that site. You can see we put on 4 online events a year. We do live boot camps probably every month at this point. We've been having them. So you can come see me speak. And I'm, if you can't tell, very passionate about not just design, but business, building great business. I've been around the block or two. I've done deals with I still own Miniloo, which is our physical products company. I did deals with Nordstrom, Peak Clothing, 500 independent bookstores, museums all over the United States. So I understand the wholesale business. When I was the creative director of Carta, I had my own sales team, my entire own design agency, basically, that they bought into in order for us to build that scrapbooking company. So one of the things we offer in our program is, yes, we teach a specific curriculum, but it's like a free-for-all. Like if you are building also a jewelry business on the side, you can ask Carina where I got all of my Chinese manufacturers, and I can tell you and give you manufacturing names. We very often get businesses come to us and say, hey, we need a logo. We shoot that out to our designers, and 7 or 8 of them might apply for it. And then one of them will get the job. We have had designers who've gotten deals and jobs that they would have never seen otherwise, like big jobs, thousands of dollar jobs, because they come through our program. And so a lot of times, and you know this as well as I do, it's network as much as anything else. Like the program's important, what we teach is important, but the network is extremely important, because one of the things we want you to leave with is if you see another Design Suite member on the Instagram and they're in a shop you're thinking about going to, that you can DM them because they were a Design Suite member. And so you know that they're trustworthy and that they're going to tell you what's going on.
You speak the same language. That'll be right. They have the vocabulary.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
They have the vocabulary.
Wow, I learned a lot today. You are awesome. You are just, we have to talk again. I want to be respectful of your time, but I'm going to give you the last word. But wow, I really did learn a lot today. I love your joy. I love all you're doing. And really, you're serving so many people. And when you do that, you've enlarged your reach, not only to people who need your services, but the people who are on your team, they get to benefit as well. So I always say it's a win-win when you grow like that. But so, man, I'm going to send everybody to the links that'll be on the YouTube description. It'll be on the podcast platform show notes. So, Carina Gardner, any last words before I let you go, and then hang around for the debriefing after I say we've stopped?
Yeah. So I would say the number one advice for anyone, especially starting a brand new business, you're really excited, is to just do it. It might fail. It might win. You don't know. But what I find is people who start multiple businesses, eventually one works. Like whatever happens, the idea works, the experience that comes. So just go for it. Life's too short not to do what you want to do.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. I just came across the guy who was kind of in my generation, and then we had a model of 95% of all businesses fail, and you invest all of these things and you're out $1 million and it fails and it's done. And well, in today's world, we can keep trying things. We're not renting places. We can be in the digital world, and we can keep at it until we find what works for us and for what people need, right?
Yeah. Work ethic. Hard work ethic.
And it's fun, by the way. Yeah. So it's very rewarding. So any designers out there interested in any kind of design, CarinaGardner.com. You got to go check her out. She's going to have probably anything you need in the design field and more. She's got a mastermind, the books, and she's got the platforms to make it happen and help you make it happen for yourself. Carina, I can't thank you enough. Please hang around. I'm going to send people to you because you are golden. Thank you.
Thank you.